I don't know if you're gonna, okay, go ahead.
Okay. So from the seasoned people, why should we not answer their questions over the phone based on these bullet points? You just unmute yourself.
Well, we don't want them to disqualify us.
What do you mean by that? And I agree with you.
We don't want them to, they may have a very specific type of person or a very specific number or something exactly that they want to have happen. And we don't want them to weed us out and be like, oh, well, if you're going to give me if you're going to come 30% off the top right away, then don't even come. They don't, I just try to keep it very, very vague. I mean, like you said, our goal is to just get the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it vague, keep it, I don't know.
I think even agreeing with Heidi, even when well-intended,
ordered.
you don't know the full scope of
12:15.
Oh, sorry. So even when well-intended, you may not understand the full scope of how the question plays into the entire picture until you get a few more questions answered. And you can't always get those questions answered honestly until you're sitting face to face with them. So by jumping in to answer a question, even to try to be helpful, sometimes you're not helping, you're missing something that you'll get the full scope of if you can just get a little bit more information.
Yeah, to that point, you don't want to give them enough information that they can make a decision over the phone. And Ryan, I think you said earlier, it's really a function of controlling the relationship and the engagement. The more they're asking questions and you're answering, the more they have the control versus you determining determining the control in which direction the conversation is going to go.
Yeah, and the other mistake is they ask a question and we give the wrong answer, right? And all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, okay, this is not the right solution for me. Wrong company, wrong person." They ask a question, and as we know in life, when my wife asks me a question, that's not really her real question, right? So you have to dig deeper on why they ask that question. And over the phone is not the place to do that. So if you catch yourself over the phone, you're answering questions, you're giving solutions, you're giving unpaid consulting, then you're not running the buy call correctly. Okay. It's our job to ask the questions and to make the appointment. Okay. So this is what I've created and what I've taught. And this is just my simple response to almost any obstacle. Because I want to take control of the call. If someone asks me, hey, what percentage do you buy at? Do you buy listed houses? How fast can you close? Those are all questions I can answer. It's not a problem, but it's not the time and place. So this is my response to everything. Hey, I get that asked a lot. Let me write that down so I can make sure I can answer that question for you. But first, can I ask you a few questions to gather some information? Now, what is that doing here? I'm saying I get that asked a lot, or maybe that's a great question. That's often one of the first questions I get asked. I'm giving credit. Hey, thank you for asking me that question. And then I validate them that I heard them. And I say, let me write that down so we can make sure we circle back and answer that question for you. So now they heard me say that, I validated them, I heard it, and I will come back and talk about it. But first, I need to ask you a few questions. So what did I do there, right? I took control of the phone call. But I didn't say I'm not going to answer their question for you, and I never answered their question. So I suggest that you guys need to put this little simple response into your own words, find a way to feel comfortable you using that to be able to take control of the phone call. Anyone?
Yeah, this is as much as it's what you do It's how you do it, right? I mean, that point of people that have a script and they're like, hey, I'm going to follow the HomeVestor script and I'm just going to run through this list. Your customer may not feel heard and validated and like you care about them. And what Ryan said in the beginning, that the key is being a service-minded, being in the mode of helping. The fact that he's saying, hey, I'm hearing you and I'm going to write this down because I'm recognizing it's important to you and I want to make sure that I answer that for you. The feeling that happens that connects them and creates a bond and rapport that allows him to continue doing what he's going to do next is driven by him engaging first this way, right? So again, there's a lot of what we're doing that has to do with setting up future events. It may seem like, oh, well, I can do that or not do it now. It may or may not make a difference whether or not he answers the question now, but how he's engaging that will significantly impact the relationship and communication and what he's able to get in the future on this phone call and at the buy appointment.
Good. Now, going back to the Jennifer Marshall question, I don't use a simple response for that. I don't know, maybe I should, but I haven't. Can someone share with me their typical response when someone says, I'm asking for Jennifer? What's a response someone gives?
My go-to is because we still have Robin on ours in Colorado.
Alex?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. I said my go-to in Colorado, since we still have Robin on ours, is I acknowledge it. I'm like, oh yeah, Robin, you want to talk to Robin? She's our national representative. I'm just local to Denver. So if you want to talk to somebody directly, then I'd be the person who you talk to. And they immediately let it go because they're super happy to talk to. They want somebody local over somebody on a national level. And if they want somebody on a national level, then I get an understanding of what their intent is with that call.
Can you repeat that again, Alex?
Yeah, I say, oh yeah, she's our national representative. I'm just local to Denver. I'm
Okay.
your local person in Denver.
I like that. I always just say, oh, she does all of our marketing, like, you know, Derek is our buyer or, you know, like something like that. But I like that because they ask that all the time for Robin McKenna, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing there is you reach me here locally. So we acknowledge that she works for us. She runs our advertising department. She works for our national office, however you want to put it to your own world. But the key is to spin it and say, but you reached me here locally. How can I help you? And majority of the time, it's not an issue. Sometimes they are like wanting to talk to that person. And you know, that's tough sometimes. But that's the general answer when we have someone ask for person at the bottom of the mailer.
Ryan, just to expand on that too, I was going to say sometimes what's nice is when I say that, people will respond with something to the extent of, oh, good, it's a national because this is my house that I have to sell in Dallas. Do you guys have offices out there? And then I can help redirect from there. But so it twofold helps them know that it's not just this area. It helps them know that I'm specifically local to this area. And seems to be pretty effective.
Good. So this is my response. And at the very bottom, it says, then you go to your general script. So I'm going to show you here in the next slide, the script. Okay. Now this is what I have for my checklist. These 8 bullets or so, this is what's important to me to gather and talk about over the buy call. 1, I want to know who I'm speaking with. 2, I want to know if they're calling me from their cell phone number, right? 2 reasons. 1, so we could get permission over the phone to send them text messages, so we're compliant with the laws. And also, if they tell me, oh no, this is not my cell phone number, I'm calling from my office line, it's important to get their cell phone number. And so we could input that into Uggville as a secondary phone number. So if in the event they call back from their cell phone number, it gets sent back to us as a sticky lead and doesn't go to another franchisee. So we'll talk more about that. I want to share my contact information with them. I want them to have my information. So if they have to call me back in the future, they call me directly on my cell phone number. I want to train them in a sense to not call the main number and go through the rotation and get me as a sticky lead. I want them to have my cell phone number so they can call me directly. Of course, we want the address. Now, I put discount statement and I put no next to that. And this is where I differ from a lot of franchisees and probably SST training. So probably follow corporate, but in my opinion, I don't see the advantage over the phone to give a discount statement over the phone. There's a time and place for it, but majority of the time, I'm not having that conversation over the phone because I have bought plenty of houses out there that were retail houses where it looked like it was not going to be a buy. I still bought the house. So I don't want to scare them off and not have them not invite me out. Okay. Who else has input? Why is this important? If we're dealing with a seller and the husband calls and then I make the appointment show up and the wife isn't there, the odds of me buying the house are pretty slim, right? So it's important to find out over the phone who else has input, okay? I personally don't like using the word decision. It's kind of a harsh word. Who has a decision to sell the house? I like to softly say, who else has input on who you sell your house to, okay? Then we're gonna want to talk about the upfront contract and make the appointment and then collect their email address. So this is the checklist that I've created that's important to me for the buy call. Any questions or comments up to this point?
Ryan, are you going to role play any of these?
I have an example I'm going to play. If we have time, I don't mind role playing.
Okay, I was just curious because I think this is a great checklist. I think everybody kind of adapts this a little bit differently. And so I was just kind of interested to hear what some of the role play would look like from different people.
Okay, this is my general script. So I want to take control of the call. I answer the phone call. Hi, this is Ryan. Who am I speaking with, right? I want to get their name. And then, hey, in case we get disconnected, are you calling me from your cell phone? Right? I'm assuming they're calling me from their cell phone. So they're going to say yes or no, right? So I don't say, is this your cell phone number? I say, I assume you're calling from your cell phone. They say yes or no. Then my next bullet point is, well, do you mind if you can write down my cell number, my direct line? So I asked them, do you mind writing down my information? And the reason is, just in case we get disconnected or if you ever have to call me back, then you have my direct local line. You don't need to call the main number to get routed to me. So I'm educating them, I'm training them on what to do if they ever have to call me back. Very important. And then I say, do you mind sharing the address of the property you're calling about? Now, do you notice here that almost every bullet point is a question? And it's a soft question. I don't say, what's the address of the property you're calling about? Do you mind sharing? It's a softer approach. It's a nicer approach. I'm asking permission. I'm taking control, but they're kind of in control, right? They decide if they want to share the stuff with me, but I'm asking them in a very nice way. This is my general script, okay? So after I collect the important stuff, and keep in mind, right? People understand that they have to provide their information. I mean, anytime you have someone calling you or you call into a company, they have to collect your information. It's just part of the process. I think sometimes we're nervous to ask these questions because we need like answer the questions. We need to solve the problem. Why are you calling? How can I help you? And then you blow it on the phone call and you say something incorrect, you answer wrong, and they say, oh, no, you're not the right fit. Well, what happened? You never collected their name. You never got the address. You don't know their cell number. You never gave me your information. So what happens is that they just go away, right? And then now you have to chase them back down. So I think it's important that we collect this information first before we get into the call. And I've never had an issue with this. No one has ever said no. Take control of the call. Once I gather all the information, this is my first question out the gate. I'm just curious, how did you hear about my company? Now in Phoenix, we have two brands. We have Homevestors and We Buy Ugly Houses. Sometimes people call us off We Buy Ugly Houses. Some people call us off Homevestors. I don't know who they think they're calling sometimes. So I asked them, how'd you hear about my company? They're going to tell you, hey, I saw a TV commercial. I went online and I Googled you, and I'm calling 5 other companies. I received a piece of mail, and I've been saving the mail for 5 years because I knew one day I'm going to have to sell. Or, hey, my mom received a piece of mail and, we're going through it. She has passed away. This is all great information to get their mindset on how they heard about us. I think it's pretty important that if someone tells us that we Googled Summit House and we found you and we're calling 4 other companies out there, I think that's good to know over the phone, right? It was an easy way to be able to gather that information. Or if they've been saving our mail for years, that's pretty good information to know, okay? So I love that question, to be able to gather how they heard about us. And my next question is based on their answer. Is there anything in particular that maybe they got a piece of mail that you read, I'm matching what they did, that you read, that made you pick up the phone to call us today? The answer they give that question is going to be the why they called us, their motivation. And that's when you take the notes, right? You gather the information. Now, remember they originally asked a question at the very beginning and we had an obstacle and we overcame it? Majority of the time, when they asked me that original question, they never asked it again. I don't bring it up. And they never asked it because I took control of the call. It is amazing that the obstacle they gave me in the very beginning, we actually have never talked about it over the phone. I kind of distracted them, right? Because what's the goal of the call? I'm going for the appointment, okay? Now, I put some other bullet points here that you can use if you need to gather more information, if you feel comfortable and you want to gather more information. These are great questions and you put it in your own words, but just get the gist of what I'm asking here. Hey, each person who chooses us to help them has a different situation. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what you're hoping to accomplish? So what you're trying to tell them is that other people call you. Other people call you for a lot of different reasons. We're here to help them. And they call us for different reasons. So I don't know why you're calling me, but do you mind sharing with me why you're calling me? Put it into your own words. But we don't know why they're calling us. So it's a great question to ask. What's going on? What are you hoping we can do? Okay. But honestly, I rarely ever ask those 2 questions. I find out why they're calling us, and then I go straight for the appointment. Okay. You're going to get this question a lot. Hey, I'm just curious, how do you work? What's your process? A great question. We often get that asked first. I appreciate you asking that question. Let me write that down so we can make sure we cover that. But do you mind if I ask a few questions first, right? That's my response. But sometimes you have to answer it. Michael, do you want to cover this section here? Because I think you're pretty good at responding to this based on not talking about our features and benefits.
I mean, it's been a while since I've taken incoming phone calls. My approach was, again, you can almost ask anything you want after you set the appointment. Ryan's point is set the appointment first. It doesn't matter what they say in the beginning, get back on track, set the appointment. After you set the appointment, say, hey, in order to prepare, or can I ask a couple questions? My go-to many times is, tell me about the house or situation, what's going on. And that rolls off my tongue even today after not having taken calls in a few years, because I've done it so many times. Tell me about the house or situation, what's going on. I just want them talking about whatever is important to them, critical to them at that point in time. And I'm going to write down the specific wording that they use, and I'm going to try to remember the tone that they use, and I'm going to try to speak back to them in those words and tones to make sure that, again, I hear what they're saying. And then when I meet them at the by appointment, I'm going to have a reference point of things that I can say and bring up, and how I'm going to, I can even make a note in the database of what their tone was, what their communication modality is, and all that kind of stuff that's going to help me do better in the by appointment. But at the end of the day, almost none of that matters if we can just book the appointment and go on the appointment, because the rest of the stuff we can do in the house. I don't know if that's what you were asking for, Ryan, but that's, I mean, you book the appointment, we need to take control, ask the questions, and just get it scheduled.
Yeah, I think that is great. You know, I have people ask me, what's your process? How do you work? Well, guys, I hear people over the phone say stuff like this. We're America's #1 home buyer. We pay cash, we close quick, we buy it as is, and we pay all the normal closing costs. That's what we do. Is that what we really do? Isn't that kind of bragging? Isn't that kind of like puffing up and go, we do this, we pay cash, we're America's #1 home buyer? I know when someone tells me something like that, I'm kind of turned off with that personality. Now, we do all that, and our competition does that also. So are we really standing out if we tell a seller that we pay cash?
I'm sorry, I totally misunderstood the question. You're saying you were specifically asking about the work process question. Yeah, I mean, that
answer was still amazing though.
But again, and this is pure Sandler, right? Hey, I answered the wrong question. I'm going to go back and I'm going to apologize, fall on the sword. You know, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. And anytime you can do that,
it was probably my fault. I apologize.
So the key, again, if you've been through Sandler, do they really care about the process? Right. So it's another one of those things of any of the objections, Brian, that you're going to bring up, it's kind of the same answer of acknowledging, hearing, responding, but then get back to what is the reason you called? Why are we having a conversation? It has nothing to do with our process. It has nothing to do with where Robin Milligan is. It doesn't, none of that matters at the end of the day. They don't really want to know what our discount is.
Mm-hmm.
So conceptually, all you need to understand is they have something that they're trying to accomplish, and we need to get to that point, or at least get them to allow us to come out to figure out what that is as quickly as possible. The rest of it we can do eyeball to eyeball at the kitchen table or wherever it's going to be.
So I actually need to add one more bullet point to this. I got to thinking about what I do. And now that I think about it, when someone goes, what's your process? I think that's a vague word. Like, what do you mean process? So I'll say, hey, I appreciate you asking that question. When you say process, what do you mean by that? So they asked a question, but in Sandler, I softened it and I reversed them. And I want to know what they meant by process. And then they might go further and ask another question. So that's actually, honestly, my first answer when someone says process, how do you work? I kind of play dumb, confused. Can you share things like, what do you mean? You know, why'd you ask that question? But if you have to give an answer, this is what we do, guys. You look at the screen here. This is what we do. We buy houses, or we help sellers out who are maybe going through trying to get a debt, they're trying to free up equity. Maybe they have a bad tenant. Maybe the house needs a lot of work. They're trying to sell their house to buy another house. That's what we do. So you need to practice this, especially if you're out and about and someone asks you, what do you do for work? Well, we don't buy houses for cash. We help sellers who maybe are dealing with A, B, or C. That's what we do, and that should be your response. Additional training with Sandler, but this is a kind of an outline of how we should answer, how we work, okay? So at the very bottom here, we want to go for the appointments. We want to go for it right away, and that's the goal. So this is kind of what I say, you know, Susie, if you like, you can invite me out to the home so we can have a chance to meet. We'll have a further conversation. I'll answer any questions you have in person. Our appointment together probably takes 45 minutes to an hour. And on our time together, we can determine if we're a good fit for each other or not. So again, put this into your own words. But what I like about this is you can invite me out. It changes the dynamics. Like your suggestion is that you want to come over, but you're asking them to invite you out. So this is kind of an overview of how the appointment's going to go. And I do this and they invite me out because it only makes sense for us to come to the house and have a conversation, and they never ask the original question that they asked. Okay. So put in your own words. If you feel stuck in the by call, you just go straight to this. Hey, how about this? Why don't you invite me out? I can come out, spend a little time with you. We'll have a further conversation, and we'll see if we're a good fit or not. And most times, they're like, yeah, let's do it. If you get stuck, go for the appointment. All right, when I send this out, I have some links here. Okay, so I have a ByScript 1 and a 2 here. Oops.
Hey, Brian, I'm sorry to interrupt, but somebody help me. All I see are faces. I don't see your screen. Does everybody else? And it's just a setting. We should be seeing your screen, right?
I see Ryan's screen. You may need to just make sure you don't have one that's pinned, Heidi. Or you can specifically pin Ryan's screen.
Gosh, I don't know how to do that. Okay, well, as long as, if everyone else is seeing it, I'll get it from you later, Ryan, no problem.
Or if you go to up in view, you just want to make
Uh-huh.
sure it's on standard, right?
You can pick, yeah.
You might
if the
you might
views-
just need to swipe also.
No swiping, and I just see speaker, gallery, multi-speaker.
I know this has happened in the past and someone had to log out and log back in, but I can forward this to you. And now I'm embarrassed that you've been seeing my face the whole time. I thought you couldn't.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, sorry. If it's just me, I apologize. Carry on.
And Ryan, can I ask real quick too, just so I'm not jumping over you? I should have asked this in the beginning. Do you want to wait and call for participation, or do you want us to jump in when we have things to add? What would be the most helpful?
If we stay on topic and keep it short, I'd be more than happy for anyone to add things in.
I just didn't want to interrupt if you had places where you were prompting people. So, okay, thank you.
So I have a link to a ByScript that I put together, and I want to thank Alex Funk. She put this together in a PDF. So you can print this out, and this is the script. You look on the left here, general script, simple responses to common obstacles, how we work, notes, information, making the appointment, and some other boxes that we'll talk about here. So you're welcome to use this script. This is one version of it. The other version is this version here, okay? I do want to revise these and maybe make them to like a half sheet or a postcard and maybe just take some stuff out. But for now, you can print these out and use these. If you like them, I know SSD training provided you scripts. You use whatever one you're comfortable to use, okay? There's some links here. Go to Ugly Hour, find 7 steps of the by call. Aaron Katz did an amazing job of what he does on the by call. Also, there's another Ugly Hour called By Call from the Coordinator's Perspective, another one. So take a look at those ones. That will give you a lot of information on the by call. Okay. Establishing a clear future at the end of the phone call. This is the upfront contract. Do you remember the things I want to accomplish? I want to do an upfront contract. So after we make the appointment, and there's an art to make an appointment, but you book it for tomorrow at 5 p.m., right? So we're scheduled for tomorrow at 5 p.m. If for some reason something comes up and you're unable to meet with me, how would you be letting me know? Now, a lot of times we say, hey, if you can't make it, call me. Okay, sure. Here, you're doing an upfront contract that if something comes up, what are you going to do? I want them to tell me, oh, for some reason I can't make it, Ryan, I'll call you on your cell phone. Okay, great. I got a commitment. I got an agreement with them. Okay. Then I let them know how long our appointment's gonna be. Now, I do 45 minutes. I'm usually a little bit faster than most. You're gonna put in here what you normally do on your buy appointment. I am not comfortable over the phone saying, hey, our time to get is gonna take 2 hours. If someone did that to me as a red personality, I'm like, no, don't come over. I do a shorter amount. And then when I'm at the buy appointment, when I get to the 45 minutes, I do a timeout and ask them, can we continue on? Okay, that's another discussion, but I'm not a fan of saying I'm there for an hour and a half, 2 hours over the phone. I like 30 to 40, 45 minutes, but you can play with that on your own. Okay. Oops.
Just, I like to say, hey, it's going to take probably 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how many questions you have and how much information you want me to provide. So again,
That's good.
I'm giving them a range, but I'm going to let them know, hey, this is about you, and it's all dependent on what you need from me. And it does give us a little leeway to move, so I can say, oh, we're in that time frame. Do we want more time? It's again dependent on you. So I like that approach.
That is great. Actually, I love that. That's great. So I have what's called an upfront contract light. This is the short version of what the upfront contract is. I let them know the whole purpose of our meeting tomorrow is just for us to have a conversation. And the goal is to figure out if I'm the right fit, the right solution. It's a short and sweet. Okay. Now, remember I said in my slide that, you know, the buy happens on the buy appointment. Well, I'm doing all this right here to build a setup for the buy appointment. You're going to see some continuity as we continue here to the buy appointment. The things that I say over the phone, I just say the exact same thing all over again, and I'm putting it into their brain. I'm constantly telling them that it's a low pressure conversation. I don't know why you're calling me. We have to figure that out by question and answer. And there are question and answers we can determine if I'm the right solution or not. That's the mindset. And the more you say that over the phone, over text, over email, in person, the more the seller lowers their guard. They don't have the pressure, and you're not that sleazy salesman, right? Trying to take advantage and buy their house. We're there.
There's also a level of integrity and consistency that comes in, whether they can put their finger on it or not. They're having an experience that what Ryan says he does. And when he says he's going to be there, he is on time. When he says he's going to call, it happens. When he says he's going to send something, it happens. I mean, there's an expectation that I can trust this guy because when he says he's going to do something, he does it. He listens to me. He cares about me. And it establishes routine. So when it comes to the end, he says, hey, this is what you can anticipate from me in an offer and us performing. When others may not give them that same sense, there's going to be something. They may not be able to put their thumb on it, but they're going to say, Ryan, as a buyer, is going to make sure that this happens and my problems go away. This other buyer, I don't feel the same way, and I'm not sure why. Again, it's subtle, but there's an emotional connection in this bond and this experience. If we perform with integrity and are consistent, say what we're going to do, and then do it, it's going to lock them into us down the road.
That's great. Great. So at the very, very end, after I set the appointment, I ask for their email address. And the purpose is so I can send them my appointment confirmation email. Okay. I wait for the very end for that. Okay. Only after setting the appointments, you may ask additional questions about the seller, the seller's motivation, and condition of the property. I hear a lot when I listen to calls, people are asking questions about how much you owe, what's your payoff, tell me about the property. There's asking questions that really don't matter over the phone. They're not important to making the appointment. Now, if you come across a seller that's talkative and you feel comfortable that you're not going to blow it, then it's okay to ask additional information. But best practices is after you make the appointment, you're locked in. You told them what's going to happen on the appointment. You told them how long it's going to take. You told them the process. And once you do that, then this is what I say. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions so I'm prepared for our appointment? And they all say yes. That's when I might gather information about the property. Maybe it's not a cookie cutter property and you want to find out the size, the square footage. You want to find out more details about it. So that's the time and place where I ask additional questions if I feel comfortable, but majority of the time, I don't even ask it. I'm just going to the appointment. Why am I going to say something and ask the wrong question or answer wrong and blow the appointment? Okay. If you receive an incoming call and you answer it, it's recorded. I highly suggest that you listen to your phone calls. Have someone else listen to your calls. This is a link here, a tutorial on how to listen to your bike calls. So you click on this, you can watch it. A suggestion is sometimes it's hard to hear the seller. Maybe they have an accent, maybe not a good connection. For whatever reason, it might be difficult to like hear them or collect information. For instance, you might not catch their name, right? Or you might not get their phone number perfect, you can't hear it, or even the address. I'm not one to keep asking over and over and over. I might ask one time to spell it, and even if I don't catch it, I know if I took that incoming call and answered it, I can go back and listen to it. Or after I make the appointment, I get further along, I just confirm the address. But I hear all the time that there's a disconnect within the first minute of taking the call, that you guys are just like confused, you can't hear them, they're repeating, what did you say, what's your name? And it's just like going the wrong direction. But keep in mind that incoming calls are recorded. You always go back and listen to it. Don't make it uncomfortable on the very beginning of the call. All right. You guys want to listen to a bike call? Oh, you are. Here we go.
Hello, this is Ryan. I has a little file in the mail about doing the like the cash on offer stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we can help you out. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions first? Yeah. And you said your name was Jonathan, is that correct? Yes. Great. And the phone number you're calling me from, is this your cell phone number? Yeah. Thank you. And if I had to send you a text message in the future, is that okay? Sure. Okay. And can I give you my contact information? Yeah. Okay. My name is Ryan, R-Y-A-N, and my cell phone number is 0-812-7926. And if you need any calls in the future, you can call me directly on my cell phone number. And what's the address of the property that you want to sell? It's 056 East Gable, G-A-B-L-E Avenue, and that's in Mesa, 85209. All right, thank you for sharing that with me. And so you received a card or a letter in the mail, and is there anything particular that kind of you read that made you pick up the phone and call it? Looking to move in probably the next 3 to 4 months. So I was kind of curious as to what kind of numbers you guys are looking at. Whether I could find ideas if you want to have, I feel like a roadshow. Yeah. Probably an option for you. The way that it works is that you can invite us out. So we'll take a look at the property. We'll have a further conversation. We'll answer any more questions you have. And that process takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And I'd be more than happy to set the time to come out to the house. And you can see your website, correct? So now, yeah. Okay. So more happy to time we get a full time to go to meet with you guys. What's your schedule like? This week was pretty good all the way up until noon. So like as long as it's like in the in the morning after the day. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. And look at my schedule here. I can do Thursday morning. I'm actually open from 8:30 to noon on Thursday. I'm like 10:30. I think great. Thursday, it's May 9th at 10:30. Like I mentioned, the whole purpose of the visit is for kind of further conversation. So you have a lot of questions for me, questions for you guys, and we'll determine if I'm a great fit or not. And if I am, or I'll be your contact away with me. There's no pressure. And I'll be okay. And this is for email address, and I'll send you an email also. It's JOSBORNESSC@gmail.com. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And then I'll also send you a text message right now with my business card. And there'll be some links in there. You're welcome to look through the link, how we work. It has our purchase contract already in there, testimonials, and then you can click on there on me on TV and talk about our process. So you're welcome to take a look at that in advance. Sounds good. Thank you all for being here to 10:30. All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Easy, huh? Any quick comments on that? Good or bad? What do you guys take away from that?
It was interesting and I don't know if you have the recording of the call you took when we were doing, I think it was with Josh or maybe Paul Neal. I observed at that time that the typical Ryan that talks fast and like go get it done, you switched gears with the seller you had on that call. So if you don't have it keyed up, it'd be great if you could find it, because it's interesting to see you turn that on and off based on the buyer you have on the other end. This buyer, I think, was more aligned with you, so you were your natural self, but on the other one, you recognized the need to kind of shift. So if you don't have that, it'd probably be good, I think, you to play it.
What I'll do is I will add that recording to the slide. So what Michael is saying, as you guys all can tell, I stutter, stammer, mumble, don't speak clear, talk fast. That is Ryan. But when I took this specific call that he's talking about, I changed gears. I slowed down. I was not my normal self. And so I'll add that to it. But the reason why I played this specific recording is I really wanted to show you almost step for step the buy script. And so that's why I used this one. Now, I made the appointments. I've had no issues with my personality, but I just wanted to kind of give you kind of an outline of the buy script. But of course, you guys all have your own personalities. So take what you can from that. But I will add another link to this page right here to the other recording that I did that he's talking about. Okay, any quick questions regarding the buy call? And then we're going to move on quickly to the buy appointment. Okay. So the buy appointment, it's funny. I've not done a lot of presentations on what to do in the buy appointment. And people often ask, hey, I want to go with you in the buy appointment. And it's funny, it's like, I really don't have a system or a script for my buy appointment. A few things I want to make sure I cover. I want to find out why I'm there, what their motivation is. I want to find out their budget, how much they want to walk away from. We had to have the money conversation. And I want to find out if they're ready to say yes or no. And that's all that I'm trying to accomplish. And I do it with my own personality. I do it with standard training. You never know what you're coming across, but that's my goal. Why? Why me? Why now? How much? And are you ready to say yes or no? But I do have a script within the first 10 minutes of me walking through the house. So there's a lot that happens from the time we hang up the phone and book the appointment to the time that we ring the doorbell. And I have a whole nother presentation on that where there's a link in here that we talk about what happens between that time frame. But right now, I'm going to ring the doorbell. And the seller comes in. And I say, thank you for inviting me out, in my own words. I'm staying consistent to what I said over the phone. Here's this thing. Hey, would you like to invite me out? Yes, I show up. Thank you for inviting me out. I give them my business card. I personally don't give them any credibility package right there. I want them to focus on me. Like, give them my card and I get invited in. Now, I'm sure the seasoned people would agree with me. One of the very first things a seller says is take a look at the house, walk around. Now, there's a couple of reasons, in my opinion, why they say that. From the group here, why is a seller going to say that right off the bat?
They don't know any better.
Now, I think it's because they think it's just about the house, right? Like, well, let's buy my house. But as we know, we're there to buy the house, but we're there to help them out and provide a solution. The other reason why I think sometimes they want us to walk the house is because that's what our competition does. Maybe our competitor was there before. And if our competition just wants to walk through the house and they never sat down and talked with them, they assume that's how it works. So you remember over the phone and in my appointment confirmation email, what did I tell them how our appointment was going to go? I already prepped them on how our appointment is. That we need to, sit down, have a conversation. I have a question for you. You have questions for me. We'll determine the right fit or not. So it's easy for me to respond back going, hey, I can't wait to take a look at the house, but how about this? Why don't we sit down and have a conversation first? And I go through it all again. And also like, oh yeah, I totally forgot. And they always sit down because they were reminded that that's how the process is. And sometimes I say, hey, I'd love to take a look at your house, but I don't even know if we'll get that far. Why don't we sit down and have a conversation to see if we're the right fit for each other? And if we are, then I'll take a look at the house. And it's amazing when you see it in their face going, oh, you don't want to buy my house? I mean, like it puts a different dynamic to the situation. There's more training on that and why we take that approach. Okay. But the goal is to sit down to have a conversation. I repeat everything that I said word for word. You sit down. Now, we build rapport. We have a conversation, but just be careful not to build rapport on the wrong stuff. Okay. It needs to be genuine. I'm not the biggest fan of like looking at pictures or seeing a big picture on a vacation or their dog. I'm not a fan because it's not real to me. I mean, it's a cute dog, but I'm here to help you out. So my rapport that I build is I am doing what I told them I was going to do, as what Michael said. So I'm not very personable. I don't have a lot of friends, so maybe that's my issue where I don't have a lot of rapport, but I sit down on the couch right away and I get into it. So I do my upfront contract. Now I'm going to briefly show you what that is. I provided a link to a full presentation on what an upfront contract is. You can take a look at that on your own, and we'll talk about it in depth with the new people one-on-one. The upfront contract this is the outline. You're going to put it in your own words. You're going to sit down. Everyone's there at the table. They're at the couch. And you're going to say, thank you for inviting me out. The purpose for our visit today is to see if I can help you or not. Not sure if you remember, but we discussed I'll be here for about 45 minutes. Is that still okay with you? We're getting permission. We're agreeing to a time frame. Then we want to talk about their agenda. Typically, you'll be asking a lot of questions about me, how HomeVestors is, how the process is. Obviously, in order for me to know what's going on in your world, what your situation is, I need to ask you some questions. Now, remember the 3 things that are important to me? This is where I state it. I want to know why I'm here, why you're selling. I need to know your timing. And we need to have the money conversation, how much you want to walk away with. Okay. And then we're going to have to talk about the house. And then naturally, one of 2 things is going to happen at the end of our time together. There are question answering. We're going to determine that might not be the fit. And if that's the case, are you comfortable telling me, no, things are coming by, we're not a match? On the other hand, if we're a good fit, we'll talk about what the next step is. And at the very end, can you do me a favor? If you determine that I'm not the right fit, are you comfortable telling me no? Because in some cases, people tell me they want to think about it. They'll call me tomorrow. We'll get back to you. When I hear phrases like that, it usually means a no. So if at any point you're not comfortable, you don't like my price, just tell me no. So that's the upfront contract. I went through it quick. We don't have time to go through it in detail, but I have another slide on this. So this is my upfront contract that I use. I'm sharing another slide with you. This is the upfront contract that Aaron Katz uses. So this is from his slide that he did in the past. Aaron Katz is a top producer out of Boston, has an amazing team. And this is his upfront contract that he put together. So you can look at mine, look at his, and compare. Okay. After I do my upfront contract, I have a question that I want to get the conversation started. The top one is a new one. Ronnie out of Portland sent this to me. I love it. This is his first question after the upfront contract. You know, every seller has different needs. They invite us into their homes for various reasons. It's called HomeVestors. What was it you're hoping we can help you accomplish today? I say the shorter version. In a perfect world, what are you hoping I can do for you? Can you share with me what are you hoping to accomplish? That is my first question out of the gate. I want to get them talking. And then from there, I don't have a script. Okay. Here's some links to some other training. I have the upfront contract presentation. It's a link to a PowerPoint. Also have HomeVestors by appointment overview. This is great. It's something that HomeVestors created. I also am sharing the Drive folder from Aaron Katz. He has so many links in here and documents that he's created. I also have a presentation by Carl Bassett, the top producer in HomeVestors. He did an excellent presentation with him and his buyer on how to ask questions. And then also there's a video that I did in the group on the buy presentation, the best practices. So these are some 5 great links that I encourage all of you guys to dig in, watch, and learn more.
And let me clarify something that Ryan said. He said he doesn't have a script. That's partially true. Ryan has years and years and years of Sandler training and experience. If you cut him, he bleeds Sandler blue. He doesn't have the pipeline or the pain funnel questions, 9 of them memorized in order, but he knows exactly what he needs to get from the seller while he's questioning and going through the buy appointment. So he sells himself short by saying he doesn't have a script. He has lots of scripted experience that's now just part of his nature. And he can weave in and out of those questions because he knows he needs to get those answers before offer and before their time is complete. So if you don't know the pain funnel questions, they're committed to memory just so your body and your subconscious knows what information you're trying to gather. So the depth of questions, the second, the third, the fourth question that we should be asking that we don't, is because of that kind of pain funnel thing that Ryan does naturally. So it's an unscripted script that he's got going on. And what you should see the same thing happening in these other videos when people talk about sitting down with the seller and going through the details, is really getting deep into their world and the question be after the second and third question.
Exactly. Well, in about an hour. I apologize for going too long, maybe a minute too long, so I apologize. All right, any questions that we can answer for you? Any points, any takeaways? Home Depot. Awesome. Well, hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you let Michael know that you attended this, so you get credit for.
I thought Alex was volunteering to do some role playing.
Alex she had another call at 2 o'clock, so
Okay.
she is on to the 2 o'clock call.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to end the official training now. If people want to stay on and chat, we can certainly can. Want to role play, we can, but we'll end the training now.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks. Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye.
Hey, and Ryan, you're gonna
Thanks,
send this
Ryan.
out to all of us in an email?
Thanks all.
See you, everyone.